There comes a time in every woman's life when the world calls her broken. When the pain she carries becomes too heavy to hide. When her silence is mistaken for weakness and her tears are treated like surrender. What they don't see, what they'll never understand, is that she's not breaking down, she's breaking open. You see, brokenness is not the end of her story. It's the beginning of her rebuilding. Every scar she hides carries a lesson. Every tear she's cried has watered her growth, and every disappointment has shaped her strength. The woman they once pitied is the woman who's learning how to stand again, not as who she was, but as who she's becoming. She's not losing herself. She's shedding what no longer serves her. The betrayal that shattered her heart wasn't meant to destroy her. It was meant to redirect her. Loneliness that broke her spirit wasn't punishment. It was preparation. And the silence that made her question her worth is now the space where she's learning to hear her own voice again. The world loves to label women as fragile. Let me tell you something. She's not fragile. She's forming. She's in the process of becoming whole again, piece by piece, truth by truth, prayer by prayer. Her healing is not loud. It's quiet, sacred, intentional. It's happening in the late nights when no one sees her fighting her own thoughts. It's happening in the mornings when she chooses to rise, even with tears in her eyes. It's happening every time she refuses to go back to what broke her. She's learning that wholeness isn't about perfection. It's about peace. It's not about fixing everything. It's about embracing who she is now. The healed version of her won't walk the same, won't talk the same, won't love the same. Because when a woman heals, she doesn't return to who she was. She rises into who she was always meant to be. So don't call her broken anymore. She's not broken, she's becoming. She's being refined in the fire, restored through grace, and rebuilt by strength she didn't even know she had. One day soon, she'll look back and realize that the pain that almost broke her was the same pain that built her wings. Brokenness is not the end of your story. It is the birthplace of your becoming. When life shatters the pieces you once held together so tightly, it's easy to believe that everything meaningful has been lost. What if I told you that brokenness is not the evidence of failure? It's the evidence of formation. What if the very moments you thought would destroy you were actually the ones designed to shape you? Life has a way of breaking us in the most unexpected ways. It could be a heartbreak, a betrayal, a loss, or the weight of carrying too much for too long. You start out whole, confident, believing in the plan you imagined for yourself, and then something happens. The pieces scatter. The identity you built begins to crumble. The certainty you once had turns to dust in your hands. And in that moment, you start to question everything you're worth, your purpose, even your ability to keep going. But brokenness isn't always a tragedy. Sometimes it's a divine interruption, a pause in your path that forces you to stop pretending and start healing. It's the moment when the mask falls off and you face yourself honestly. It's where you meet the parts of you that you've ignored, silenced, buried beneath the noise of life. When everything breaks, the truth rises to the surface. You begin to see not just who you were always meant to become. Brokenness humbles you. It strips away the illusion of control. It brings you face to face with your humanity. And though that may feel painful, it's also profoundly freeing. Because only when something is broken can the light truly enter. Only when something falls apart can it be rearranged into something stronger, purer, and more authentic. Think about it. Gold becomes stronger when refined in fire. Diamonds are formed under immense pressure. Seeds break open before they bloom. The caterpillar must dissolve before it becomes a butterfly. Transformation is never comfortable. It's often chaotic. The chaos is not destruction. It's construction. It's the rebuilding of your soul from the inside out. When life breaks you, you're not being punished. You're being prepared. The breaking teaches you resilience. It teaches you empathy. It teaches you patience and depth and understanding that can't be learned in comfort. You begin to value what truly matters. You start to see beauty not in perfection, but in the process of becoming. You begin to understand that brokenness doesn't define you, it refines you. Sometimes you must go through what feels like complete disassembly to discover the truth of your design. Maybe you thought that relationship was forever, and now you stand alone. Maybe your plans crumbled, your confidence vanished, and your direction blurred. Yet in that empty space, something sacred happens. You learn how to build again, not from the outside in, but from the inside out. You learn how to love yourself in the middle of the mess. You learn how to trust that even when you can't see the purpose is still working. There's a beauty in brokenness that perfection can never offer. When you've been broken and put back together, you walk differently. You love differently. You see life through eyes of gratitude because you know what it feels like to lose everything and still survive. You know the power of rising again after being shattered. You know that strength is not about never breaking. It's about being brave enough to rebuild. Brokenness teaches you how to bend without breaking completely. It teaches you that the cracks in your life are not flaws, they're openings. Openings for compassion, for wisdom, for grace to pour in. When you stop hiding your cracks, you realize they are what make you human. They are what make you real. The most powerful people are not the ones who've never been broken. They're the ones who've learned how to turn their broken pieces into something beautiful. You see, transformation doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in struggle. Growth doesn't come from ease, it comes from endurance. And sometimes God or life or the universe will allow things to fall apart, not because you're unworthy, but because you've outgrown what used to fit you. You can't pour new life into an old container. You can't walk into the next season carrying the weight of the last one. Breaking is the preparation for the becoming. Brokenness opens the door for change. It forces you to let go of the illusion that you had everything figured out. It challenges you to rebuild with intention, calls you to find meaning in the moments that make no sense. And slowly, as you walk through the fire, as you pick up the pieces, as you learn to breathe again, something miraculous happens. You begin to transform. You start seeing yourself not as a victim of your pain, as the vessel of your purpose. The same pain that once crushed you now fuels your strength. The same tears that once drowned you now water your growth. You become softer in heart, yet stronger in spirit. You no longer chase validation or perfection. You begin to live from a place of authenticity, courage, and grace. That's what transformation looks like, not the absence of pain, but the redemption of it. You stop seeing your scars as shameful reminders and start seeing them as sacred stories. You realize that the breaking didn't ruin you, it revealed you. It peeled away what was false so that what was true could finally emerge. So, if you're standing in a season of brokenness, don't despise it. Don't rush to fix it. Don't cover it up. Sit with it. Learn from it. Let it teach you. Because somewhere in that brokenness, something new is being born. A wiser you, a stronger you, a more peaceful you. One day, you'll look back and thank the moments that broke you. Because without them, you wouldn't have discovered your resilience or your truth. Without them, you wouldn't have become who you are now, whole, grounded, and alive in a way you never were before. Brokenness is not your ending. It's your awakening. It's your transformation. And as you rise from it, remember, the pieces that fell apart were never meant to destroy you. They were meant to rebuild you into the masterpiece you were always destined to become. Pain has a strange way of showing up uninvited. It walks into your life without warning, rearranging everything you thought you had under control. It comes through heartbreak, through loss, through disappointment, through the quiet moments when you realize the life you planned isn't the one you're living. Pain feels cruel, unfair, unnecessary, and yet over time, it becomes the teacher that shapes your strength, your character, and your destiny. Pain is not punishment. Pain is preparation. Every season of suffering carries a lesson wrapped inside it. Every tear has a purpose. Every struggle has a reason. You may not see it now. You may not feel it while you're walking through it, but pain is molding you, refining you, and preparing you for the places your comfort could never take you. You see, comfort teaches you nothing. Comfort keeps you where you are, but pain pushes you to evolve. It calls you higher. It demands that you grow, that you change, that you confront the parts of yourself you've avoided for too long. Pain doesn't just reveal your weakness, It reveals your strength. It strips away the false layers you built to protect yourself and exposes the core of who you truly are. It shows you what matters. It teaches you humility, endurance, and compassion. Pain breaks you open so something new can grow inside. And though it doesn't feel good, it's always working for your good. Think of the seed buried beneath the soil. In the darkness, it feels pressure, confinement, and isolation. It must crack open before it can sprout. That breaking, that moment of pain, is what allows new life to begin. The seed can't bloom without being broken. You are the same way. Breaking point in your life isn't your ending. It's the moment you begin to grow beyond what you were. Pain is the soil of transformation. When you look back on your life, the moments that prepared you the most weren't the easy ones. They were the painful ones. The heartbreak that made you question your worth taught you how to love yourself. The betrayal that shattered your trust taught you discernment. The rejection that made you feel unseen taught you resilience. The loss that brought you to your knees taught you gratitude for what remains. Pain trains you in ways that comfort never could. It sharpens your wisdom and strengthens your faith. Preparation often hides behind discomfort. It's easy to want blessings, but few want the process that builds the character to handle those blessings. Pain builds capacity. It stretches your heart so it can hold more love. It deepens your empathy so you can understand others. It matures your mind so you can handle what's ahead. When life delays something you desire, it's not denying you, it's developing you. Sometimes it delays the discipline. The hardship is the training. The loss is the pruning that makes room for greater growth. You may not see it while you're in it. Everything painful is shaping something powerful within you. That's the mystery of pain. It hides purpose within it. And when you surrender to the process instead of resisting it, you begin to see that your pain is not your enemy, it's your evolution. You might wonder why certain things had to happen the way they did, why certain people walked away, why certain doors closed, why life felt so unfair. But when you look closer, you'll realize that every painful experience moved you closer to truth, closer to strength, closer to becoming who you were meant to be. Pain has a way of stripping life down to what truly matters. It silences the noise. It focuses your vision. It humbles your heart. It teaches you to depend on what's real, not what's temporary. There's something sacred about people who have been through pain and chosen to grow through it instead of being defined by it. They carry a certain calmness, a certain depth. They don't chase validation because pain taught them that peace is more valuable than approval. They don't run from solitude because pain taught them that quietness is where healing happens. They don't fear loss because pain taught them that what's meant for them will always return in a better form. Pain builds patience. It teaches you to trust timing. It reveals that everything unfolds exactly when it's meant to. You can't rush healing. You can't shortcut growth. You can't skip the uncomfortable seasons because those seasons are building the strength and wisdom you'll need for the next chapter. You might not understand the why while you're hurting, but one day you'll see that every detour, every delay, every disappointment was training you for where you were destined to go. Preparation through pain isn't glamorous. It's lonely. It's confusing. It's silent work. There are no cheers, no recognition. Just you, your thoughts, and the lessons you're forced to learn. It's in that silence that something remarkable happens. You start becoming. You start letting go of what's superficial and holding on to what's real. You start to see yourself not through the eyes of the world, but through the eyes of growth, purpose, and faith. Pain cleanses. It clears away what can't go with you into your next level. The version of you that began the journey won't be the same one that finishes it. Pain makes sure of that. It forces you to outgrow your fears, to detach from what's unhealthy. It gives birth to a strength that's unshakable and a peace that can't be stolen. That's why even though you hate it while you're in it, you'll eventually thank it for what it taught you. One day, you'll look back and see how the pain that broke your heart prepared your hands to hold better things. Pain that confused you prepared your mind to handle clarity. The pain that isolated you prepared your soul for independence. Every ache had an assignment. Every wound carried wisdom. Every ending prepared you for a new beginning. So don't despise the pain. Don't curse the process. Don't give up in the middle of your preparation. You may not understand what's being built, but something is being built. The discomfort you feel is the stretching of your spirit. The tears you cry are watering the soil of your future. The struggle you're facing is shaping the version of you that's ready for what's next. Pain is not a punishment. It's a privilege, because it means life is still shaping you. It means you still have purpose to fulfill. It means something greater is on its way. And when it finally comes, you'll be ready for it, not because you avoided pain, but because you learned from it. When you come out on the other side, you'll realize the pain wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to prepare you, to make you stronger, wiser, and more grounded. You'll see that every tear was necessary, every trial was purposeful, and every delay was divine. Pain was never your enemy. It was your instructor, your refiner, your preparation. So hold on through the pain. Trust the process. Let it shape you. Because one day, when you stand in the light of your breakthrough, you'll understand the pain that once felt unbearable was simply preparing you to carry the blessing that was always meant to be yours. There is a sacred kind of healing that happens in the quiet places of your life, the moments when the world isn't watching, when the noise fades. All you have left is yourself, your thoughts, and your truth. Healing in silence is not about hiding from the world. It's about returning to yourself. It's about finding peace in the pauses, strength in solitude, and clarity in stillness. In a world that moves too fast, that demands constant noise, constant sharing, constant validation, silence can feel uncomfortable, even painful. But silence is not emptiness. It's a sanctuary. It's the space where your soul finally has room to breathe. It's where the wounds you've carried for so long begin to close, not because someone else fixed them, but because you finally gave them the attention they needed. Healing doesn't always come with applause. It doesn't come with an audience. Most of the time, it happens in the unseen moments, the nights when you're quietly learning to forgive yourself, the mornings when you choose to get up even when you don't feel ready, the small victories that no one notices but you. Healing in silence is about embracing those moments and realizing that you don't need the world to validate your recovery. You don't have to explain your process, prove your growth, or perform your pain. You just have to live through it one breath at a time. There's something deeply powerful about learning how to sit with your own emotions without distraction. The world teaches us to run from discomfort, to cover pain with noise, to drown out loneliness with business, to replace reflection with distraction. Silence asks something different from you. It asks you to feel. It invites you to listen, not to the outside world, but to the voice within you that's been whispering all along. That voice knows what needs to heal, what needs to be released, and what needs to be rebuilt. Healing in silence teaches you patience. It reminds you that not every wound needs an audience, and not every struggle needs to be shared. Some of your most profound transformations will happen in private. They will happen while you're sitting alone, thinking deeply, praying quietly, crying softly into the night. The world may never know the battles you fought, but those battles are what make your peace so sacred. When you heal in silence, you begin to understand that true strength isn't loud. It doesn't always roar. Sometimes strength looks like restraint, the decision to protect your peace, to step away from chaos, to choose calm over confrontation. It's realizing that not everyone deserves access to your pain or your process. Some things are too sacred to be explained. Some healing is meant to be between you and God, or between you and the quiet wisdom of your own heart. There's a misconception that silence means weakness. Silence can be the greatest form of power. It's in silence that you learn to observe rather than react. You start to see things clearly. Who's genuine? Who's not? What's real? What's temporary? Silence gives you perspective. It helps you detach from the noise that clouds your judgment. It reminds you that peace isn't something you find in other people. It's something you cultivate within yourself. The beautiful thing about healing in silence is that it transforms you quietly. There's no announcement, no dramatic change that others can see right away. Over time, people begin to notice. They notice that your energy is lighter, your presence calmer, your words wiser. They notice that you've stopped explaining yourself, that you've stopped chasing validation, that you've learned how to let things go without bitterness. That's what silent healing does. It rebuilds you from the inside out until peace becomes your natural state. Healing in silence also requires a kind of courage that few talk about, because silence can be lonely. When you choose to step away from the noise, from the people who don't understand, from the situations that drain you, from the distractions that numb you, you're left alone with your thoughts. And that can be hard. But that's also where real transformation begins. Because when you stop running from yourself, you start to understand yourself. You start to see your patterns, your triggers, your strengths, and your purpose. There's a moment in every healing journey when you realize that no one can do the inner work for you. People can support you, encourage you, and love you. Healing is ultimately an inside job. It's a conversation between you and your soul. It's the decision to stop seeking external answers and start listening to the wisdom that lives within you. That's why silence is so essential. It clears the space for that inner conversation to take place. Healing in silence doesn't mean isolating yourself forever. It means withdrawing long enough to rebuild your foundation. It's about creating boundaries, saying no to what disturbs your peace and yes to what nourishes your soul. It's about recognizing that solitude is not punishment, it's preparation. It's where you reconnect with your intuition, your dreams, your divine purpose. In the silence, you start to realize that peace is not something you find after the storm, it's something you build during it. You learn to stop fighting every battle and start choosing which ones are worth your energy. You discover that sometimes the best response is no response. Not everything deserves your reaction, and that silence often speaks louder than words. And then one day, after all the quiet nights and lonely mornings, you'll notice something has shifted. The heaviness you carried begins to lift. The anger that once consumed you starts to fade. Pain that used to define you no longer holds power over you. You begin to laugh again, to dream again, to breathe again. That's the miracle of silent healing. It happens gradually, almost invisibly, but when it's complete, you are never the same. When you heal in silence, you stop needing to prove your growth. You stop needing to explain your peace. You simply live it, and that peace becomes your protection. It shields you from negativity, from chaos, from the things that once disturbed your spirit. You begin to realize that the same silence that once felt lonely is now your refuge, your safe place. Healing in silence is not about being invisible. It's about becoming whole. It's about understanding that true healing is not loud or dramatic. It's steady, gentle, and deeply personal. It's learning to carry peace within you, no matter what's happening around you. Quiet confidence of knowing that you've rebuilt yourself from the ground up, that you've faced your own darkness and turned it into light. So, if you find yourself in a season of silence, don't rush out of it. Don't fill it with noise or distractions. Let it do its work. Let it cleanse, restore, and renew you. Trust that something sacred is happening inside of you, even if no one else can see it. Because healing in silence isn't about proving you're okay. It's about becoming okay. It's not about showing the world your strength. It's about discovering it for yourself. And when you finally emerge from that season of quiet healing, you won't need to announce it. Your peace will speak for itself. There comes a point in every journey when holding on begins to hurt more than letting go. It's a quiet moment of realization, the kind that doesn't come with fireworks or fanfare, but with a deep knowing in your heart that something or someone has served its purpose in your life. Letting go is not about loss, it's about liberation. It's about creating space for healing, peace, a wholeness to take root where pain once lived. Many people think wholeness is about gathering, about adding more success, more love, more validation. True wholeness often begins with subtraction. It starts when you begin to release the things that no longer align with who you are becoming. Letting go is not weakness. It is strength in its most sacred form. because it takes courage to unclench your hands from something familiar, especially when that thing once made you feel safe, loved, or understood. But when you keep holding on to what no longer fits your spirit, you block the flow of what is meant for you. Letting go doesn't always mean walking away from people. Sometimes it means releasing versions of yourself that you've outgrown. The version that tolerated too much, that settled for less, that stayed silent when it should have spoken, that tried to fix everything at the expense of its own peace. Becoming whole means acknowledging that you cannot heal while holding on to what broke you. You can't evolve while clinging to your old patterns, your old fears, your old wounds. When you begin to let go, something inside of you starts to shift. It's not instant, it's gradual. You start to feel lighter, freer, more at peace with what is. You realize that not every ending is a tragedy. Some endings are blessings in disguise. Some closures are divine interventions. Life removes what you can't release yourself. That person who walked away, that job that ended, that friendship that faded, maybe they were all part of your story, but not your destiny. Sometimes life must break your attachment to what's temporary so you can embrace what's eternal. The act of letting go is an act of faith. It's trusting that what's meant for you will never need to be forced. That piece is more valuable than control. That your healing matters more than your comfort. It's choosing to release the weight of resentment, bitterness, regret, because you finally understand that carrying them only keeps you stuck in the past. You can't walk into your future if your hands are full of what used to be. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting or pretending that it didn't matter. It means accepting that some chapters close for a reason. It's understanding that growth sometimes requires separation. Not because you're better than anyone, because you're finally learning to honor yourself. You stop begging people to see your worth. Stop explaining your boundaries. Stop chasing closure that never comes. You simply choose peace, even if it means standing alone for a while. The truth is, becoming whole isn't a glamorous process. It's raw, it's uncomfortable. It's the process of peeling back the layers of your own heart and realizing how much pain you've carried just to keep others comfortable. Challenge, it's looking in the mirror and admitting that some of the things you've been holding on to, the grudges, the guilt, the old dreams that no longer fit your reality, are actually what's been holding you back. You begin to see that wholeness is not about getting everything you want. It's about being at peace with what you have and who you are. Letting go requires grace. Grace for yourself for staying too long. Grace for others who couldn't meet you where you were. Grace for the past that shaped you, even when it hurt. Grace allows you to move forward without anger. It allows you to bless what was even as you release it. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what is this trying to teach me? That shift in perspective changes everything. A wholeness is what happens when you release what was and embrace what is. It's when you stop trying to fix broken things and start nurturing the parts of yourself that were neglected in the process. It's when you stop chasing what's leaving and start preparing for what's coming. It's when you realize that peace doesn't come from getting everything you want. It comes from letting go of what you don't need. Letting go isn't easy because it feels like losing control, but in reality, it's gaining freedom. It's the moment when you finally stop fighting against the current of life and allow it to carry you where you're meant to go. It's trusting that the path ahead, even if unknown, holds something better than what you're leaving behind. Because the truth is, nothing that's meant for you will ever require you to lose yourself to keep it. You'll know you're healing when the things that once triggered you no longer do. When you stop explaining your worth, when you stop revisiting old wounds looking for new answers, when you can think about what hurt you and feel gratitude instead of anger. That's what letting go does. It turns pain into wisdom, chaos into calm, endings into beginnings. There's a quiet power in surrender. It's not about giving up. It's about giving into the flow of life. It's trusting that every loss had a lesson, every delay had direction, every heartbreak had hidden healing. Letting go is not the end of your story. It's the cleansing before your next chapter. It's the moment the caterpillar dissolves before becoming the butterfly. Painful, yes, but necessary. because transformation always requires release. As you let go, you begin to realize that wholeness isn't about being untouched or unbroken. It's about being at peace with every version of yourself, the broken one, the healing one, the becoming one. You begin to see your scars not as signs of weakness, but as evidence of survival. You stop trying to go back to who you were before the pain because you understand that version of you no longer exists. You're wiser now, softer, stronger, more aligned with your truth. Oh, letting go teaches you that closure doesn't come from others, it comes from within. It's when you make peace with the unanswered questions. It's when you stop waiting for an apology that may never come and give yourself the forgiveness you deserve. It's when you stop trying to understand every ending and instead trust that it happened for your protection. Becoming whole means you stop looking outside yourself for completion. You stop trying to fill your emptiness with people or things. You learn that peace is an inside job, and as you release what's no longer aligned, you make space for what truly is, for joy, for freedom, for love that feels like home, for a purpose that makes you come alive. So let go. Let go of what hurt you, of what limited you, what no longer feeds your spirit. Let go of the need to be understood, the desire to control outcomes, the fear of what's next. Let it fall away. Because what's meant for you won't require you to fight for your worth. It will recognize it. And when you finally release what no longer belongs, something miraculous happens. You begin to feel whole. Not because life is perfect, but because you are at peace with yourself. You understand that letting go wasn't losing, it was making room for your healing, your growth, your joy. We live in a world that glorifies strength, often misunderstands what it truly means. Strength is usually portrayed as being unshakable, unbothered, untouchable, as if real power is found in silence, stoicism, and never showing pain. But true strength isn't about pretending to be invincible. It's not about building walls so high that no one can see the truth behind them. Real strength is found in vulnerability, in the courage to be honest about your heart, your fears, and your struggles. Vulnerability doesn't mean weakness. It means being brave enough to be seen. It's standing in the truth of who you are, even when it's messy, even when it's uncomfortable enough, even when it scares you. It's saying, this is me, the whole of me, the part that's still healing, the part that's still learning, part that still gets afraid. Vulnerability is the place where authenticity lives, and authenticity is where real power begins. We are conditioned to believe that showing emotion makes us fragile, but the opposite is true. It takes immense courage to be soft in a world that celebrates hardness. It takes strength to cry when society tells you to stay composed. It takes bravery to admit when you're not okay, when you're struggling, when you need help, because pretending is easy. It's protection. Vulnerability, that's exposure. And yet it's that exposure that allows us to grow, connect, and heal. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you open the door to true connection. You allow others to see you as you are, not the version you curate, not the mask you wear, but the soul behind the smile. You create space for honesty, empathy, and love to exist in their purest form. Because you can't be loved for who you truly are if you never show who that is. Vulnerability says, I trust myself enough to be seen, and I trust others enough to meet me there. There is a sacred beauty in vulnerability. It strips away the illusion of perfection and reveals the humanity we all share. Every person you meet has felt fear, has faced heartbreak, has walked through loss. But we spend so much of our lives hiding those parts, pretending we've got it all figured out. When you let yourself be vulnerable, you remind others that they're not alone. You become a mirror that reflects truth, and that truth has the power to heal not just you, everyone who witnesses it. Strength in vulnerability is learning to live without armor. It's realizing that your heart doesn't need to be hidden to be safe. You learn that openness doesn't make you a target, it makes you free. When you're vulnerable, you stop performing for approval. You stop trying to prove your worth. You stop chasing perfection because you understand that imperfection is where life's beauty really lives. Vulnerability allows you to stop surviving and start living. But vulnerability is not easy. It demands trust in yourself, in others, and in the process of life. It asks you to surrender control, to release the illusion that you can manage every outcome. It requires you to risk being misunderstood, rejected, or judged. That's why so many people avoid it. What they don't realize is that avoiding vulnerability also means avoiding intimacy, growth, and freedom. You can't selectively numb emotions. When you numb pain, you also numb joy. When you suppress fear, you suppress love. True strength is not in how tightly you can hold things together, in how freely you can let go of control. It's being able to say, I'm scared, and still move forward. It's admitting, I don't have all the answers, and still showing up at saying, I've been hurt, or I refuse to stop loving. That's the kind of strength that changes people, the kind that transforms your pain into power, your fear into faith, your vulnerability into victory. When you choose vulnerability, you open yourself to transformation. You start to understand that healing doesn't happen through pretending to be okay. It happens through honesty. You begin to see that strength isn't about never falling. It's about learning how to rise every time you do. You learn that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward in spite of it. Vulnerability gives your strength depth, authenticity, and purpose. It's something deeply powerful about people who have learned how to be both strong and soft. They've cried and still found the strength to rise. They've faced disappointment but refused to become bitter. They've been rejected but didn't stop believing in love. Their strength doesn't come from hardness. It comes from healing. It's the kind of strength that can't be faked because it's been forged through truth, not through pretense. Being vulnerable doesn't mean you have to share everything with everyone. It means being honest with yourself. It means acknowledging your feelings instead of burying them. It's giving yourself permission to feel, to grieve, to hope, to dream again. It's saying, I can be both broken and beautiful. I can be both afraid and brave, can be both learning and worthy. That is the essence of strength in vulnerability, embracing the paradox of being human. When you stop hiding behind the illusion of perfection, you open the door for authenticity to lead your life. You start to attract people who love you for your truth, not your image. You begin to experience peace because you no longer have to perform. You realize that the people who are meant to walk with you will meet you in your honesty, not your hiding. People who can't handle your vulnerability were never meant to have access to your depth. Vulnerability transforms relationships too. It builds bridges instead of walls. It allows understanding to replace judgment. It teaches compassion for others and for yourself. When you open up and say, I've been there, or I know what that feels like, you create space for connection. You remind others that it's okay to be human. It's okay to not have everything figured out, that strength and softness can coexist. There's a quiet kind of confidence that comes from living vulnerably. You no longer fear failure because you've learned that even in falling, there's growth. You no longer hide your emotions because you know that feeling deeply is not a flaw, it's a gift. You no longer fear being misunderstood because you've made peace with being real. Vulnerability doesn't make you less, it makes you limitless. The world doesn't need more perfection. It needs more people brave enough to be real. People who can say, I'm healing, but I'm here. People who can show others that authenticity is more powerful than appearance. People who can remind us that strength is not found in the walls we build, but in the courage to take them down. Strength and vulnerability is about living with your heart open, even when life gives you every reason to close it. It's about loving again after heartbreak, trusting again after betrayal, dreaming again after disappointment. It's knowing that pain may visit again, but so will joy. It's realizing that you can't protect yourself from everything. And you don't need to, because the same heart that can break is the same heart that can heal love and create beauty beyond the pain. So be brave enough to be vulnerable. Speak your truth even when your voice shakes. Let your tears fall without shame. Let your heart stay open even when it's been wounded, because there is no strength greater than the strength it takes to be fully human, unguarded, unpolished, and unapologetically real. You are not weak because you feel deeply. You are not fragile because you care. You are not broken because you've been hurt. You are strong because you keep showing up. You are powerful because you choose honesty over perfection. You are resilient because you keep loving despite the pain. That is the essence of strength in vulnerability. The power to stand tall, not because you've never fallen, but because you've learned that your truth is enough. Wholeness is not perfection. It's not a flawless picture, unshakable calm, or a life free from pain. Wholeness is the quiet confidence that remains even when everything around you feels uncertain. It's not the absence of broken pieces. It's the acceptance of them. To be whole is not to have every answer, every wound healed, or every dream fulfilled. To be whole is to embrace every part of yourself, the strong and the scared, the radiant and the restless, and recognize that all of it belongs. For so long, we've been taught to equate wholeness with completion. We've been told that we will finally feel whole when we reach a certain goal, meet the right person, heal every wound, or achieve a sense of control. But life doesn't work that way. Wholeness isn't something you arrive at. It's something you uncover within yourself, layer by layer, as you journey through the process of becoming. When you redefine wholeness, you begin to understand that being whole has nothing to do with perfection and everything to do with integration. It's not about fixing every broken part, but learning to love them. It's about acknowledging your wounds without allowing them to define you. It's about understanding that the pieces of your story that once brought you shame are now the very pieces that make you strong. Wholeness is about authenticity. It's standing in your truth without fear of judgment. It's the courage to say, I am still learning, still healing, still growing, and that's okay. It's giving yourself permission to be in process, to not have it all figured out, to make mistakes, to start over as many times as needed. When you redefine wholeness, you stop chasing an illusion and start embracing your humanity. The world often praises those who appear put together, but appearances can deceive. You can have everything on the outside, success, relationships, confidence, and still feel incomplete on the inside. You can wear a smile that hides your exhaustion. You can play the role of strong so well that no one ever asks if you're tired of being brave. Wholeness invites you to take off that mask. It whispers, you don't have to perform anymore. You don't have to be perfect to be worthy. Being whole means embracing your contradictions. You can be grateful and still grieve. You can be strong and still need help. You can be confident and still have moments of doubt. You can be healing and still hurt. Wholeness is not an either-or state. It's both, and it's the sacred balance between joy and pain, chaos and peace, holding on and letting go. It's the understanding that life is not meant to be tidy, but truthful. There comes a point when you realize that your wholeness was never lost. It was only covered by pain, fear, and self-doubt. It's not something you have to search for outside yourself. It's within you, waiting to be reclaimed. The journey to wholeness is about peeling back the layers of protection you've built, the walls you've raised, the stories you've believed, the expectations you've carried, and returning to the essence of who you are. That essence has always been whole. Healing plays a major role in this redefinition. Healing isn't about erasing what happened or pretending it didn't hurt. It's about making peace with your past so it no longer controls your present. It's about looking at your scars and seeing not what broke you, but what built you. Every wound holds wisdom. Every setback carries a lesson. Every heartbreak can birth a deeper understanding of love, resilience, and faith. Redefining wholeness means accepting that life doesn't need to be perfect to be meaningful. You can live a full, rich life even while navigating uncertainty. You can find joy in the midst of imperfection. You can love deeply even after being hurt. Wholeness allows you to live in alignment with truth instead of chasing an image. It frees you from the constant striving to get it all together and invites you to simply be. Many people spend their lives searching for external validation, thinking someone else will make them feel complete. But no person, no relationship, no accomplishment can give you the wholeness you're meant to find within. Others can complement your journey, but they cannot complete you. You complete yourself when you learn to love who you are without needing anyone to fill your gaps or fix your flaws. When you redefine wholeness, you start living from a place of self-acceptance rather than self-criticism. You no longer see your imperfections as disqualifications, but as evidence of your humanity. You stop punishing yourself for the moments you fell apart and start thanking yourself for having the strength to rise again. You realize that being whole is not about never breaking. It's about knowing how to rebuild with grace, honesty, and hope. Wholeness doesn't mean you'll never feel pain again. It means that pain no longer rules your life. It means you've developed the capacity to feel deeply without losing yourself in the emotion. It means you can walk through storms and still find peace within. You no longer need to control everything because you trust the process of life. You trust that even in the breaking, something sacred is unfolding. There is freedom in this kind of wholeness, freedom from comparison, freedom from needing approval, freedom from the pressure to always be okay. You no longer measure your worth by your productivity, appearance, or success. You measure it by your authenticity, by how fully you live in truth, deeply you love, and how kindly you treat yourself through every season. To redefine wholeness is to reclaim your story, to honor every version of yourself, the one who survived, the one who struggled, the one who still believes. It's to look back and realize that even in the moments you felt most incomplete, you were still worthy, still valuable, still loved. You were never lacking, you were becoming. Wholeness is not about arriving at a destination where nothing hurts. It's about learning to carry both the light and the dark and finding balance between them. It's about recognizing that life will always bring both sunshine and shadow, and that you are capable of standing in both without losing yourself. When you reach this place, peace begins to flow. You stop resisting what is and start embracing what can be. You start to see beauty where you once saw only brokenness. You find meaning in the moments that once made you feel lost. You realize that being whole doesn't mean being untouched by pain. It means being transformed by it. So take the pressure off yourself to have it all figured out. You are allowed to be in process. You are allowed to still be healing. You are allowed to be both a masterpiece and a work in progress. Wholeness doesn't mean everything makes sense. It means you've learned to find grace in the unknown. Redefining wholeness means finally coming home to yourself. It's not about seeking something new. It's about remembering what has always been true. You were never broken beyond repair. You were being shaped, refined, and guided toward the fullness of who you were always meant to be. You are whole not because your life is perfect, but because your spirit is resilient. Not because you have no scars, because you have learned to turn them into symbols of strength. Not because everything is complete, because you have learned to embrace the journey as sacred. Wholeness is not a destination. It's a daily choice to show up, to love, to forgive, to grow, to keep becoming. It's the recognition that even as you evolve, you have always been enough. And that right there is the truest form of wholeness there is. There comes a moment in every person's journey when life invites you to stop looking backward and start looking within. It's the moment when you realize that the person you once were no longer fits where you are going. You can feel the distance between who you've been and who you're becoming, and though that space can feel uncertain, it's sacred. It's the space of transformation, the in-between of endings and beginnings, where becoming replaces returning. So many people spend their lives trying to return to who they used to be. They say, I just want to feel like myself again, as if the old version of them was the ultimate expression of life. But the truth is, you are not meant to go back. You are meant to evolve. You are not supposed to fit into the mold you've already outgrown. The seasons of your life were never designed for repetition. They were designed for revelation. Becoming means allowing change to do its sacred work. It means trusting that the person you're growing into carries a deeper wisdom, a stronger faith, and a softer heart. It means recognizing that the old you is necessary, but not final. You can honor who you were without trying to return there. You can be grateful for who you've been and still let her go, because holding on too tightly to who you used to be can keep you from walking into who you're meant to be. Life has a way of breaking you open just enough to show you what's inside. Sometimes that breaking feels like loss. of people, dreams, or parts of yourself you thought you'd always keep. But what feels like an ending is often a divine invitation to become something greater. The pain that made you question everything is often the very thing that clears the path for transformation. You can't become new while clinging to the old. You can't walk forward while constantly looking back. There's a sacred kind of peace that comes when you stop fighting change. When you stop trying to return to what's familiar and start embracing what's forming. You begin to realize that becoming is not a punishment, it's a privilege. It's a sign that life is still shaping you, still molding you, still preparing you for what's next. Every challenge, every loss, every unanswered prayer is a thread in the fabric of who you are becoming. Becoming requires surrender. You cannot hold on to control and expect transformation. You can't demand certainty and still grow. Becoming is a journey of trust, trusting that even when you don't recognize yourself, you are being refined, not ruined. The process may feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable, but that's how growth feels. The soil must break for the seed to rise. The cocoon must rupture for the butterfly to fly. The same truth applies to you. You can't return to the comfort of the cocoon and still expect to soar. It's tempting to romanticize the past, especially when the present feels uncertain. You remember when life felt simpler, lighter, more predictable, but nostalgia can be deceptive. It filters out the lessons, the discomfort, the reasons you had to grow in the first place. Returning might feel safe, but it's stagnant. Becoming feels risky, it's alive. You can't reach new heights by staying grounded in what's gone. You can't find your future by reliving your history. Becoming means learning to see yourself not as a finished product, but as a work in progress. It's giving yourself permission to outgrow relationships, beliefs, environments that no longer align with your evolution. It's releasing guilt for choosing peace over familiarity. It's realizing that you don't owe anyone the old version of you. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to become someone your past self wouldn't even recognize, because that's how transformation works. Sometimes people around you won't understand your becoming. They'll miss the version of you that was easier for them to accept, the one who fit their comfort zone. But becoming is not about their understanding, it's about your alignment. You cannot return to smallness just because others are uncomfortable with your expansion. You cannot dim your light to fit into places you've already outgrown. Becoming demands courage. The courage to move differently, think differently, and live differently. And becoming is not always graceful. It's messy. It's uncertain. It's full of tears, silence, and days when you question whether you're making progress at all. But that's the beauty of the process. Growth rarely looks glamorous while it's happening. It's in the unseen moments, when you choose peace over panic, faith over fear, patience over frustration, that becoming is truly taking place. The shifts are quiet before they are visible. The new you is forming long before the world sees her. The past has already served its purpose. You've learned the lessons it came to teach. Now, the invitation is to rise not as who you were, but as who you're meant to be. You are not returning to an old version of peace. You are becoming the kind of person who can hold peace no matter the circumstance. You are not returning to the same joy. You are becoming the kind of soul who can create joy from within. You are not returning to the strength you once had. You are becoming someone whose strength is rooted in wisdom, not willpower. Becoming is an act of faith, stepping into unknown territory with the confidence that you are guided. It's trusting that even when doors close, new ones will open. It's understanding that every ending carries a beginning in disguise. It's realizing that sometimes life removes what you thought you needed to make room for what you truly deserve. You cannot see the full picture while you're in the process, but one day you'll look back and understand that every moment was leading you here to the fullness of becoming. When you let go of returning, you free yourself from comparison. You stop measuring your life by timelines, outcomes, or expectations. You begin to see that every version of you has purpose. The one who struggled, the one who survived, the one who's still learning to trust. None of it was wasted. Every version of you is necessary to bring you here. The goal was never to go back to who you were before the pain. The goal was to become someone who could turn that pain into purpose. Becoming means walking forward with grace. It means saying goodbye without bitterness. It means releasing the need to understand everything and learning to rest in the process. It means knowing that you don't have to have all the answers to keep moving. You just have to take the next step in faith, trusting that what's ahead is worth more than what's behind. You are not returning, you are rising. You are not repeating the past, you are rewriting your story. You are not chasing who you used to be, you are meeting who you were always meant to become. That version of you is wiser, freer, more grounded, more compassionate. She carries peace that doesn't depend on circumstances and confidence that isn't rooted in approval. She is not who she was, and that's the point. So stop apologizing for evolving. Stop grieving the version of yourself you've outgrown. She served her purpose. She walked you through storms you thought you'd never survive. But now it's time to become. It's time to step fully into the new season with open hands and an open heart. You are not losing yourself. You are finding yourself on a deeper level. Becoming, not returning, is your path forward. It's not about reclaiming what was lost. It's about discovering what's been waiting within you all along. Every ending, every shift, every heartbreak is an invitation to rise into the fullness of your potential. You are not going backward. You are being called higher. Let the past be a chapter, not a destination. You have new pages to write, new truths to live, new strength to uncover. The journey isn't about going back, it's about growing forward. You are not who you used to be, and that's the miracle. You are becoming, and that right there is where your power lives. Pain has a way of reaching places in us that comfort never could. It strips away illusions, dismantles false identities, and exposes the truth of who we are. It's raw, it's real, and it never leaves us the same. For most people, pain feels like the end, the breaking point, the moment when everything falls apart. But what if pain isn't the end? If it's the beginning of something deeper? What if hidden inside every ache and every heartbreak, there's a purpose waiting to be revealed? Pain is not pleasant, but it's powerful. It doesn't arrive to destroy you, it arrives to develop you. Calls you to look at life through a new lens, not from the surface, but from the soul. Pain introduces you to yourself in ways ease never could. When life is comfortable, we rarely question our path. We settle, we coast, we assume we're in control. But when pain enters, it interrupts the illusion. It makes you pause, reflect, and realign. It demands that you stop living on autopilot and start living with awareness. There are moments in life that leave you breathless. When something you trusted collapses, when someone you loved walks away, when dreams you've carried for years fall apart. You ask, why me? Why now? The questions echo in your heart, and the answers don't come easily. Over time, if you listen closely, pain becomes a teacher. It reveals what truly matters. It strips away what's temporary so you can build what's eternal. It breaks you open not to destroy you, but to expand you, to make room for more strength, more compassion, and more truth. You see, purpose and pain are intertwined. Every person who has walked in strength has walked through suffering. Every great story of transformation is rooted in moments of breaking. You cannot have purpose without process, and you cannot have process without pain. Pain is the tool that shapes purpose. It chisels away the unnecessary and reveals what was hidden within you all along. When life is easy, it's easy to rely on comfort. But when everything falls apart, you are forced to reach deeper. For faith, for resilience, for understanding. That's where purpose begins to form. Purpose grows in the soil of your struggles. It is born from what you survive, not what you escape. Every tear you've cried has watered the ground of your future. Every loss you've endured has cleared space for something greater. Every heartbreak you faced has stretched your capacity to love and empathize. Pain teaches humility. It reminds you that you are not in control of everything, and that's okay. It teaches surrender, the sacred art of letting go. When you stop fighting what is, you make space for what can be. Sometimes the pain doesn't go away because it's still doing its work in you. It's building patience. It's developing depth. It's strengthening the parts of you that cannot be shaken. We often look for quick fixes to escape pain. We distract, we numb, we deny. But healing doesn't happen by avoidance, it happens through awareness. When you sit with your pain, instead of running from it, you begin to understand its message. Maybe it's teaching you boundaries. Maybe it's reminding you of your worth. Maybe it's calling you to release something you were never meant to carry. Pain is a messenger, one that points you toward growth, not destruction. The most powerful people are not those who've never been hurt, but those who've turned their pain into purpose. They've learned to use their story as a source of strength rather than shame. They've discovered that what was meant to break them actually built them. Their pain became their platform, their suffering became their strength, and their tears became the testimony of resilience. That's what purpose does. It transforms what once hurt you into what now heals others. When you find purpose in pain, you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? You stop viewing the wound as punishment and start seeing it as preparation. You begin to realize that some pain comes to reposition you, to move you away from what was comfortable toward what's calling you. Some pain comes to awaken the power that's been dormant within you. Some pain comes to close one door so a greater one can open. There are seasons when pain isolates you, when you feel unseen, misunderstood, and alone. Those are often the moments when purpose is being formed in the dark. Seeds don't grow in sunlight, they grow in soil buried and unseen. In the same way, your pain is often the soil where your next season takes root. It's where your identity is strengthened, where your clarity deepens, and where your character matures. You may not understand it while you're in it. Pain has a way of clouding your vision. It makes you question everything, your worth, your direction, even your faith. But later, when the dust settles, you'll look back and realize that pain was not wasted. Every hardship had a lesson. Every delay had a purpose. Every detour led you exactly where you were meant to go. What felt like breaking was actually building. Pain reveals the strength you didn't know you had. It teaches you endurance. It builds resilience. It awakens empathy. When you've known pain, you learn how to meet others in their suffering with compassion instead of judgment. You become the person who understands silence, who feels deeply, who carries kindness because you know what it feels like to be broken. That's purpose, not in avoiding pain, but in transforming through it. Finding purpose in pain doesn't mean you have to be grateful for what hurt you. It means you can look back and say, it didn't destroy me, it shaped me. It means you can take what once wounded you and use it to heal others. It means you can stand stronger, not because the pain is gone, because it no longer controls you. The process of finding purpose in pain requires patience. Healing doesn't happen overnight. There will be days when you feel strong and days when the ache returns. But every day you choose to rise, every day you choose to keep going, you reclaim your power. You remind yourself that pain is a part of the story, not the whole story. You learn to hold space for both sorrow and hope, to know that you can hurt and still be healing. You can cry and still be growing. The truth is, pain changes you. It either makes you bitter or it makes you better. The difference lies in how you respond. If you let pain close your heart, it hardens you. If you let it open your heart, it transforms you. You start to see that pain was never your enemy. It was your invitation to rise. Your pain has purpose. It has been shaping you for the life that's waiting ahead. The heartbreak that humbled you made you enough to recognize real love. The disappointment that broke you built the patience to wait for what's right. The loss that brought you to your knees taught you to find strength within. None of it was in vain. One day you will look back and realize that the pain you thought would destroy you became the foundation that carried you. You will see that it taught you how to stand, how to fight, how to believe again. You will understand that purpose was not something outside of you. It was being born inside you all along. So don't curse your pain. Don't rush it. Let it do its work. Let it carve depth into your soul. Let it awaken purpose in your spirit. You are not broken beyond repair. You are being refined for greater purpose. Your pain has purpose. And when you finally see it for what it is, you'll realize it didn't come to stop you, came to shape you. It came to prepare you for the life you were born to live, one filled with strength, wisdom, compassion, and a deeper understanding of what it truly means to be whole.